So in this video, we're gonna go over quadratic equation and using the quadratic formula. And I believe in the previous video, I don't remember which one, but I have derived the formula for you, so you can feel free to check it out. But before we move on to using the formula, let's do question 11. So we have a projectile, and basically we are given the y coordinate with respect to the x coordinate, and we are given this diagram to help us. So the question says find the range of this projectile. So the range is just you start from point O and then you go to this end. So what is the x coordinate here? That is the question. Well, if you observe, we start at y is equal to 0 and we end at y is equal to 0, right? So y increases, reaches a maximum, and comes back to 0. So basically, we want to solve the equation for y equals to 0. So therefore, square root of 3x minus 49x squared divided by 9,000 should equal to 0. This is what we're solving for. And pretty much you can factor out an x here, right? So you get root 3 minus 49x divided by 9,000 equals to 0. So from this, you get two solutions. Either x is equal to 0, which is where we start. This is the O point. X is equal to 0 is the origin, right? So we don't want this. We want the other end point, so xc. So the other solution is just root 3 minus 49x divided by 9,000 equals to 0. So therefore, 49x divided by 9,000 is equal to square root of 3. And therefore, x is equal to 9,000 square root of 3 divided by 49. So that should be your solution to part A. So the range of the projectile is just this expression, 9,000 root 3 by 49. All right. And then it says, find the maximum height reached by this projectile. So basically, if we look at this diagram, you will notice that the maximum point is reached when we are at half of the range, right? So our x coordinate, if you want to find the x coordinate where we reach the maximum height, which we say x max, that is half of the range. And the range was just 9,000 root 3 divided by 49. So x max is attained at 4,500 root 3 by 49, right? And now we just plug this in. So when we plug this in, we want to plug this into y is equal to root 3 times 4,500 root 3 by 49 minus 49 over 9,000 and then x squared. X squared is just going to be 4,500 squared. Root 3 squared is just 3, and then we have 49 squared. So this is just, I put x in and I squared everything. So I get this expression. So now, 9,000, I can actually write it as 4,500 times 2. So this cancels out with 4,500. 49 squared is just 49 times 49. So one of these cancels out with the numerator. And then here I have 4,500 times 3 divided by 49. Minus, on my right-hand side, I have 4,500 times 3 divided by 2 times 49. And that is, I believe, so if you simplify, if you make a common denominator, so you can use your calculator to simplify the expression. And I believe we have discussed how to simplify fractions. So when we solve this, I believe we should get 4,500 times 3 divided by 98. And when you plug it into your calculator, if you want to write it as a fraction, that is 6,750 divided by 49, which is the same as 137.755, or approximately 138 meters. So that is going to be the maximum height reached by this projectile. So the maximum height will be reached in the y direction, right? So you just plug the value of x max, and x max is just half of the range. So x max occurs here, and then at x max, so at half of the range, you reach your maximum height. And that is by using the idea of symmetry. And we will further discuss this in future videos. So 138 centimeters and then 9,000 times root 3 by 49 should be your answers. All right. So now we are moving on to using the formula. Now we have already derived this formula. So let me just give the formula again. So that is ax squared. If you have the quadratic equation in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, then x is given to be minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So that is the value of your x. And that is pretty much it. So let's do question. So I'll do B, D, and F, and I'll leave A, C, and E for you. So B is x squared plus 6x plus 4 equals to 0. So x is minus b, and b is 6. So you can just do this. You can write down your value of a, and you want to write it with the sign. So a is 1, 1, b is positive 6, positive 6, positive 1, and c is positive 4. All right. So x is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So minus of b is going to be negative 6. Plus or minus 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times a is 1 times c is 4. So 36 minus 16 divided by 2 times 1. So I have minus 6 plus or minus the square root of 20 divided by 2. Now 20 is just 4 times 5. So 20 you can actually write it as 2 root 5 divided by 2. And therefore your final solution is minus 3 plus or minus square root of 5. So that should be your answer. And you can give it to 3 significant figures actually. So minus 3 plus square root of 5. So your x is equal to negative 0.763, or, so this is just like writing, so I have given you it in the exact form, but you can use your calculator to also check your answer. So this is negative 5.236 is just 24. So these are your 2 answers, but leaving it as like this is also perfectly fine. All right, so we are done with B. Let's move on to, so we know the formula, and we can move on to part D. So we have 2x squared plus 5x minus 6. So now, again, A is positive 2, B is positive 5. You copy with the sign, plus 2 plus 5, and C is minus 6. So x is minus b, so minus b is going to be minus 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared. B squared is 25, minus 4 times a is 2 times c is negative 6, divided by 2 times 2, a is 2. So minus 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus, now 4 times 2 times negative 6 gives me negative 48. So 25 minus of minus 48. So that is going to give me 25 plus 48, divided by 4. So minus 5 plus or minus 25 plus 48 is 73. Square root of 73 divided by 4. And you can leave your answer as like this, but you can also, if you want, you can put it in your calculator and check the roots. So let me just give them to you. So x is going to, you can put minus 5 plus square root of 73 divided by 4, and minus 5 minus square root of 73 divided by 4. That will give you 2 values of your x. So you have 0.886 or 0.89. And the other value of x is minus x minus square root of 73 divided by 4. That is negative 3.39. So that should be the 2 solutions to part D. All right, and let's do part F. So F tells me I have 5x squared plus 7x minus 2 equals to 0. So now x is going to be a is plus 5, b is plus 7, and c is negative 2. So minus b is minus 7 plus or minus the square root of b squared is 49 minus 4 times a is 5. 4 times 5 times negative 2 divided by 2a is 2 times 5. So you have negative 7 plus or minus the square root of, so you have 49 minus 4 times 5 times negative 2. And when you evaluate, you get 89. So you have a negative here, you have a negative here. You're going to add up the two numbers together, divided by 10. And now you can put it in your calculator to get your two values. You have minus 7. One of the solutions will be plus square root of 89 divided by 10. So that is 0.24. Or your other value of x will be minus 7 minus square root of 89 divided by 10. So negative 1.64. So those are your two solutions. And that is how you do part 1. So this is just a review on how to use the formula. And I believe we've been using the formula since chapter 1. So question 2. A rectangle has sides of, so we have 3x minus 2. And you have x. So again, so the area of the rectangle is 63. So we are given two sides. They are not equal. So the area is just your length times width, right? That is how you get the area of a rectangle. So you multiply the two dimensions together. And basically, this is given to be 63. So now you can just simplify. 3x squared minus 2x is equal to 63, right? And then 3x squared minus 2x minus 63 is equal to 0. And then we can solve for x. So a is positive 3, b is negative 2, c is negative 63. So minus b, minus of minus 2 is plus 2. Minus, so we want minus b, and b is already negative 2. So minus of minus 2 gives me plus 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared is 4. Minus 2 squared is 4, minus 4 times 3 times negative 63 divided by 2 times 3. So you just want to slowly plug your items in, and then you can put it in your calculator. So you have 4 minus, and inside the bracket, I am going to evaluate 4 times 3 times negative 63. So if you're using your scientific calculator, on mine one, I have the negative sign above the log one. So if you're doing subtraction, then that is this button next to your addition button. But if you want to write minus of something, then you need to use the button above your log button. So in mine, it's log, but you need to find the minus with that is inside the bracket signs. So when you add these two together, you have square root of 760. The square root of 760 divided by 6. So now, let's think about it. We cannot have a negative length because we're talking about lengths and areas. So we only want to consider the positive solution. So x is just going to be 2 plus square root of 760 by 6. So 2 plus square root of 760 by 6. When you evaluate, you get 4.93 centimeters. And that is it. So let me just check very quickly. It should be 4.93. And it is. All right. Question 3. Rectangle A has side lengths. So basically, you can multiply these two sides because they are different sides, right? So the area of rectangle A is x times 2x minus 4. And the area of rectangle B is x plus 1 times 5 minus x. And they have the same area. So area of A is equal to area of B. And I believe we just want to find the value of x. All right. So now you just substitute the values in. Equals to x plus 1, 5 minus x. And then you can simplify. So I have 2x squared minus 4x on my left-hand side. On my right-hand side, I have 5x minus x squared plus 5 minus x. So I did it like this. So x times 5 is 5x, x times negative x is negative x squared, 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times negative x is negative x. So I have 2x squared minus 4x, and that is equal to minus x squared plus 4x plus 5. All right. And now let's put all terms on one side. So let me bring these terms on this side. And when I do that, I will get 3x squared minus 8x minus 5 is equal to 0. And now you know a is equal to 3, b is equal to negative 8, and c is equal to negative 5. So x is going to be minus of minus 8 minus b, that is plus 8, plus or minus square root of b squared is 64, negative 8 squared is 64, minus 4 times a is 3 times c is negative 5. So that gives me negative 60. And when I do that, I will actually get 124 divided by 2 times 3. So that is 6. So 8 plus or minus the square root of 124 divided by 6. So again, x has to be positive, greater than 0. So I just take the positive term, 8 plus the square root of 124 divided by 6. So that gives me 3.19 centimeters. So you reject negative solution because we are talking about lengths and areas. And 3.19 should be your answer. All right. Question 4 is very similar to what we have done in the previous videos. So I have 5 divided by x minus 3 plus 2 divided by x plus 1 equals to 1. So now let's use the butterfly method. So we have 5 multiplied by x plus 1 plus this 2 multiplied by x minus 3, and then you multiply your denominators together, equals to 1. And then I multiply by this denominator on both sides. So I have 5x plus 1 plus 2x minus 3, and on the right hand side I get 1 times the denominator. So I'm just taking the denominator to the other side. And with this I get 5x plus 5 plus 2x minus 6. So when I expand the bracket on my left hand side, I get this. When I expand my bracket on the right hand side, I get x squared minus 2x minus 3. So that is just quickly simplifying everything. And now, on my left hand side, I can do more simplification. I can write it as 7x minus 1. X squared minus 2x minus 3. And now let's take these terms onto this side. So x squared, I will have minus 9x. Minus 2 is equal to 0. So this will be the quadratic equation. And finally, I can use the formula. So a is positive 1. And I know I've done the simplification a bit quickly, but feel free to take your time to understand it. So 1, negative 1, and minus 2. So x is going to be 9 minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared is 81 minus 4 times a is 1 times c is negative 2. So that is going to give me minus 8. So that is just 89 over 2 times a. 2 times 1 is 2. So again, we only want x to be bigger than 0. So actually, we don't have that restriction, I think, in this case. So we can give both answers. So 9 plus square root of 89 divided by 2. So one solution is 9.22 to 2 significant figures. And the other solution is 9 minus square root of 89 by 2. So the other solution is negative 0.217. So these should be your 2 solutions to this question. It's 9.22 and negative 0.217. All right. And finally, we get to question 5. Question 5 says solve the quadratic. Alright, so let's move on to question 5. So we are given the quadratic equation ax squared plus minus bx plus c. So now let's just solve this quadratic equation. So x is equal to minus of minus b, right? You take the negative of the coefficient in front of x. So that is just plus b, plus or minus the square root of minus b squared is still b squared, minus 4 times ac divided by 2a. And that is just it. So basically the difference is that there is a sign change. So when our quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c, then the solution has minus b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So if our equation has a minus b, then it changes by 2 plus b. So therefore, if I say my x original is, so let me just split the terms so that it's easier for you to see. So So that is my x original, right? Minus b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So now what happens if I add 2b over 2a? Well, if I add this expression to my x original, 2b over 2a, then that gives me the denominator for my first term and the last term is the same. So I still have 2a. And minus b plus 2b is positive b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So this is b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So x, and 2b by 2a is just b over a. So x original plus b over a is my x new roots. B plus or minus this expression is my expression for my new roots. So therefore, the original roots increase by b over a. So that is your answer. So when you take a regular quadratic equation and then you change the sign of the coefficient of x, then the original roots, you have to add b over a to them. So that is just the answer. And when we say roots, we mean the solutions. We mean, so the terms x-intercepts, roots, the solutions, they all mean the same thing. At what value of x is y 0? What x do you need to put in so that you get 0 in the quadratic equation? And that is about it.